You've heard the pitch. Bitcoin, the currency no bank can freeze, no government can control, no guy in a suit can touch. Buy some coins, hold on, and let a system with zero central authority protect your money better than Wall Street ever could. Except somewhere in the last 2 years, the biggest money manager on planet Earth, a company that moves more cash than the GDP of most countries, quietly built itself a seat at Bitcoin's table. Not by hacking the code, not by breaking anything, by doing something far more American, wrapping it in a ticker symbol and selling it back to you with a fee attached. Here's exactly what's waiting for you in the next 10 minutes. You'll see the real size of BlackRock's Bitcoin machine and where your coins physically sit if you ever buy in. You'll learn about the new Get Paid to Hold Bitcoin product Wall Street just launched and the catch that never makes it onto the thumbnail. And by the final chapter, you'll understand the one shift that might matter more than any hack, any crash, or any bad headline. Because it's not really about Bitcoin's price anymore. It's about who's quietly holding the keys. That last part is the one almost nobody's talking about, so stick around for it.
So how did a company that once compared Bitcoin to money laundering end up becoming one of its biggest landlords? It starts with 3 letters, IBIT. Chapter 1, the ETF Gateway. For over a decade, buying Bitcoin meant downloading a slightly sketchy-looking app, writing 12 random words on a sticky note, and praying you didn't lose your life savings to a spilled coffee. Then, in January 2024, BlackRock launched something called IBIT, the iShares Bitcoin Trust. Suddenly, you could get Bitcoin exposure the exact same way your uncle buys Tesla stock, through a normal brokerage account. No wallet, no sticky note. It worked almost too well. IBIT now holds somewhere around $48 billion in assets, making it one of the largest Bitcoin vehicles on the planet. You pay 0.25% a year for the privilege, and the actual coins sit with a custodian called Coinbase, with a backup custodian standing by in case anything goes wrong.
Here's the part that should raise an eyebrow. When you buy a share of IBIT, you don't own Bitcoin. You own a piece of paper that promises to track Bitcoin's price. The coins live in someone else's vault, and you're trusting an entire chain of institutions to hold up their end of a deal that Bitcoin was invented specifically to make unnecessary. And IBIT, it turns out, was just the opening move. Chapter 2, the 1 to 2% rule. In late 2024, BlackRock's own research arm put out a number that quietly became gospel across Wall Street. A Bitcoin allocation of about 1 to 2% of your portfolio is roughly the amount of risk most people should take on. Go much higher, they warned, and Bitcoin's wild swings start dragging your whole portfolio around with it. Think of it like hot sauce at Thanksgiving. A few drops make the meal interesting. Dump the whole bottle on the turkey, and you're not having dinner anymore. You're doing a stunt. On a $100,000 portfolio, a 2% allocation is $2,000. Even a brutal 70% Bitcoin crash barely dents your total statement. That sounds responsible, and honestly, it kind of is. But it's also how you take an asset built to be a full-blown alternative to the financial system and quietly turn it into a seasoning sprinkled on top of the same old one. Turns out, Wall Street didn't stop at seasoning. It figured out how to turn Bitcoin into a paycheck.
Chapter 3, Bitcoin, but make it a paycheck. In June 2026, BlackRock rolled out a fund called BITA, the iShares Bitcoin Premium Income ETF. The idea, instead of just holding Bitcoin and hoping it climbs, the fund sells options contracts on a slice of its holdings, roughly 1/4 to 1/3 of it, and collects a check for doing it. That income gets paid out to investors, sometimes advertised at a headline rate north of 18% a year. Sounds like a dream. Hold Bitcoin, collect a monthly paycheck, retire early. Except there's a catch buried in the fine print that never makes the thumbnail. Selling those options caps your upside. If Bitcoin suddenly doubles, BITA doesn't get to enjoy the ride the way a plain Bitcoin holder does, because some of that gain already got sold off in advance for the income. It's basically pre-selling your Super Bowl tickets back in October because you needed rent money. You get cash now, you give up the shot at a bigger win later. And that 18% headline number isn't a guarantee. Option income moves with the market like everything else. So Wall Street built the on-ramp and it built the paycheck. Neither one matters though if you can't answer a much simpler question. Where do the actual coins live? Chapter 4, the vault nobody talks about.
Here's the number that should make you pause. The overwhelming majority of America's Bitcoin ETFs, BlackRock's included, store their coins with the same company, Coinbase. Different funds, different tickers, different logos on your app, same vault underneath. Stack every major spot Bitcoin ETF side by side, and most of them are trusting Bitcoin's most sacred promise that no single point of failure controls it to one custodian's cold storage under one regulator in one country. And custody isn't the only layer. Years before IBIT even existed, BlackRock had already built up meaningful stock positions in some of the companies that mine Bitcoin, the machines actually keeping the network running. That's not a hacker in a hoodie taking over Bitcoin from the outside. That's a spreadsheet, quietly doing it from the inside, one shareholder filing at a time. And if you think that's just about custody and mining, wait until you hear where BlackRock says this is all actually headed.
Chapter 5. Bitcoin was just the beta test. Because Bitcoin was never really the finish line. BlackRock has been openly building tokenized versions of traditional investments like treasury funds, essentially taking old-school Wall Street products and putting them on blockchain rails so they can move the same way crypto does. In that future, Bitcoin isn't the rebellion against Wall Street anymore. It's the trial run, the friendly, familiar fence that got everyday investors comfortable enough with blockchain that the rest of the financial system could quietly walk through the same door behind it. So here's the paradox sitting under this whole story. Bitcoin was built so that no bank, no government, and no single company could ever stand between you and your money. And in a little over 2 years, the largest money manager on earth built a stock you can buy on your lunch break, a Paycheck product with a very generous asterisk, and a vault holding a massive share of the coins backing it all, and did every bit of it out in the open, in SEC filings and press releases, not secrecy. Bitcoin's code never changed. Who's standing next to it, holding your hand and charging a fee? Absolutely did.
None of this makes Bitcoin a scam, and it doesn't make BlackRock some secret villain. It means the easiest way to buy Bitcoin today might also be the way that hands the most control right back to the exact institutions it was built to avoid. Whether that trade-off is worth it is genuinely up to you. And no, that's not financial advice. That's just what the paperwork says. If this video changed the way you look at your own portfolio even a little, that's exactly why this channel exists. Hit subscribe so you don't miss the next one. And if you made it all the way here, go ahead and smash that like button, because apparently that's still how the internet decides what's worth watching. See you in the next one.